Welcome back to Creations of Our World, the podcast where we explore the art, science, and passion behind the things we love. I'm your host, Kelly, and today we're diving into the heart of Mexico to uncover the secrets of a globally celebrated spirit, tequila. And we have the perfect guide for this journey. Joining us is Daniel Martinez, a Master Tequila Blender with over 20 years of experience. His palate has shaped some of the most respected tequilas on the market. Daniel, it's an absolute honor to have you with us.
Kelly, the pleasure is all mine. I'm excited to be here and share a bit about this craft that I love so much.
Wonderful. So let's start at the very beginning. When we think of tequila, we think of agave, but it's not just any agave plant, right?
That's exactly right. True tequila can only be made from one specific type, the agave teculana Weber, or the blue Weber agave. And by law, it can only be produced in 5 specific states in Mexico, with the vast majority coming from Jalisco.
So there's a real sense of place, a terroir, just like with wine.
Precisely. The highlands of Jalisco, with their red volcanic soil, tend to produce larger, sweeter agaves, which lead to tequilas with more fruity and floral notes. The lowlands, or El Valle, give us agaves that result in a more earthy, herbaceous tequila. But the most incredible part of this plant is its patience.
Patience? What do you mean?
A blue Weber agave plant has to mature for at least 5, but ideally 7 years before it can be harvested. All that time, it's absorbing the sunlight, the rain, and the minerals from the soil, storing up complex sugars in its heart, which is called the piña.
Wow, a decade for a single plant. That's an incredible investment of time before you even begin the production process.
It is, and that brings us to the harvest, which is a true art form in itself, performed by skilled jimadores. These are generations of farmers who know exactly when an agave is ready. They use a tool called a coa de jima, which is a long pole with a very sharp circular blade at the end. With incredible precision, they cut away the long, spiky leaves to reveal the piña. These piñas can weigh anywhere from 80 to over 200 pounds.
That's amazing. So once the piñas are harvested, what's next? You have this giant starchy heart of the plant. How do you get the sugars out?
We cook them. The traditional method is to slow roast the piñas in large brick ovens called hornos for 24 to 48 hours. This slow cooking process caramelizes the sugars and softens the fibers, bringing out these beautiful notes of cooked agave, citrus, and sweet potato.
Right.
Many modern distilleries use large stainless steel autoclaves, which are essentially giant pressure cookers. They can cook the piñas in a fraction of the time, around 8 to 12 hours.
Does that speed affect the final flavor?
It certainly can. Purists will argue that the slow roasting in hornos yields a more complex and nuanced flavor profile. Autoclaves are efficient, but can sometimes result in a more neutral or one-dimensional base. Neither is wrong, they just produce different styles of tequila. After cooking, the piñas are shredded or crushed to release all that sweet agave juice, which we call agua miel, or honey water.
Agua miel, I love that. And I imagine this is where the magic of fermentation begins.
Exactly. The agua miel is moved into large fermentation tanks, which can be made of stainless steel or wood. We add yeast, and this is where, as a blender, I get very excited. The yeast begins to consume the sugars, converting them into alcohol.
This process can last anywhere from a few days to over a week, depending on the yeast strain, the temperature, and the desired flavor profile. Some distilleries use proprietary yeast strains that have been cultivated for generations, while others allow for open-air fermentation, inviting wild, ambient yeasts to join the party. This is where tequila develops its core character.
So you get this sort of low-alcohol agave beer at the end of this stage?
That's a great way to put it. We call it mosto. It has about 4 to 9% alcohol by volume. From there, it's on to distillation.
Okay, so let's talk about distillation. I know tequila has to be distilled twice. Why is that?
The double distillation is crucial for purification and concentration of flavors. The mosto is pumped into copper pot stills, or alambiques. The first distillation, called the destrozamiento, or smashing, separates the alcohol from the water and solids. The result is a cloudy liquid called ordinario, which is about 20 to 25% alcohol.
Not very appealing sounding.
It's not something you'd want to drink, but the magic is in the second distillation. This time we make very precise cuts. As the vapor rises and condenses, the first part to come out is called the cabeza, or head. It's high in undesirable compounds like methanol. The last part is the cola, or tail, which has heavy, oily compounds.
And the middle part?
The middle part is el corazón, the heart. That is the soul of the tequila. It's the purest, most flavorful part of the spirit, rich with the essence of the cooked agave. Knowing exactly when to make these cuts is what separates a good distiller from a great one.
That's fascinating. You've been monitoring these stages for decades. Do you have any curious or memorable experiences that stand out while watching over the process?
I do, actually. It happened during fermentation. It's a very active process, the liquid bubbles and churns. It's alive. I was doing a late-night check on a batch in our open-air fermentation vats. The distillery was quiet. Everyone had gone home, and it was just me and the mosto.
Okay.
As I stood there in the silence, I started to hear a faint, almost melodic sound. It wasn't mechanical, it was organic. It rose and fell in a strange rhythmic pattern. For a moment, I honestly thought I was hearing things.
You thought the tequila was singing to you?
It sounds crazy, but yes. I leaned in closer and realized the sound was coming from the vat itself. It was the collective vibration of billions of yeast cells working in such a synchronized way that they were creating an audible harmony, a yeast symphony. I've never heard it quite like that again. It was a reminder that this isn't just chemistry. There's a life force, a magic to it.
What an incredible story. So after you have El Corazon, the heart, some tequila is bottled right away, but some gets aged. Can you walk us through the different classifications?
Of course. What comes from the still is what we call a blanco, or silver tequila. It's unaged or aged for less than 2 months in stainless steel tanks. This is the purest expression of the agave itself. Crisp, peppery, citrusy. It's the foundation.
Right, the true agave flavor.
Then you have reposado, which means rested. It's aged in oak barrels, typically used American whiskey barrels, for anywhere from 2 months to a year. This resting period mellows the spirit and imparts notes of vanilla, caramel, and a gentle spice from the wood.
Next is añejo, or aged tequila, which spends 1 to 3 years in the barrel. Here, the oak influence becomes much more pronounced, with deeper notes of toffee, dried fruit, and cinnamon. Finally, there is extra añejo, which is aged for more than 3 years. These are complex, rich sipping spirits that can rival any fine cognac or whiskey.
That brings me to my final question. For many people, their experience with tequila might just be a quick shot with salt and lime. How is that perception changing, and how would you recommend people enjoy tequila? Daniel, you've painted such a vivid picture of the craft involved. It makes me think about quality control. With tequila's popularity soaring, how is the industry regulated? How can consumers be sure they're getting the real deal?
That's a fantastic question. The world is finally waking up to tequila as a sophisticated sipping spirit. The salt and lime ritual was really started to mask the taste of poorly made tequila. With a well-crafted 100% agave tequila, you want to taste it. That's a very important point, Kelly. The integrity of tequila is fiercely protected. The industry is governed by the Consejo Regulador del Tequila, or the CRT. This organization was established in 1994 to oversee every single step of the production process, from the agave fields to the final bottling. Nothing gets to be called tequila without their approval.
That makes sense. That's fascinating. So what are some of the specific things the CRT looks for? Is there a stamp or something on the bottle we should look for?
I recommend trying a good blanco or reposado neat in a special tasting glass, like a small wine glass or a flute. Sip it slowly. Let it open up. Notice the aromas. For cocktails, go beyond the margarita. Try a paloma, which is tequila and grapefruit soda. It's the most popular tequila drink in Mexico, and for good reason. It's incredibly refreshing and lets the spirits shine.
A yeast symphony and a paloma. I think our listeners have their weekend plans sorted. Daniel, this has been an absolutely enlightening conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and passion with us.
It was my absolute pleasure, Kelly. Thank you for having me. Salud!
Salud! That's all the time we have for today on Creations of Our World. Join us next time as we explore another fascinating story of craft and creation. Until then, stay curious.